Good afternoon and welcome back for part 3 of our chicken coop building series. It is the final part. Today we will be making our panels, our side panels for the coop, and doing final assembly. So we're finally going to get to see the fruits of our labors. But before we rush into that, let's take a look and introduce you to these chicks that I've been doing all this hard work for. Here are my little chickadees. They're about 2 weeks old or so today. I'm getting pretty big, feathers filling in, and they're getting pretty close to ready to get out of this little brooder they've been in and into their coop. We'll probably put them in about another week and a half. Okay. Today we're going to begin by cutting our side panels. I already got them painted. Set them down here on our little workbench. And the great way about the order in which we've done things with this build is that there's a very easy way to get these diagrammed out and cut. Our plan is very simple. We are going to lay down our frames that we built one wall at a time, which will allow us to trace out the shapes that we need to cut out for the access doors and to contour to the roof line. So we're going to go ahead and do that for all 4 sides, get them cut out, and then we'll move to assembly. Now we're about ready to get started making our cuts from what we just marked. Now obviously the cuts along the edges where you're going to be cutting full pieces of the board off are easy. But the ones on the interior where you want to keep all the edges, they can be a little bit trickier. I'm going to show you the way that I manage that using just a circular saw and a hand saw. I'm going to use my Sawzall just to speed things up a bit, but you can use a hand saw to make sure you make those cuts. I'll show you that up close. And also, even though we trace the interior, for some of these openings, if we're going to have a door, a flap, or a door, wherever that door is going to close and meet, we need to go a little bit further so it rests up against our supporting board. If we don't do that and we keep the cut there, it's just going to swing in and out and it's not going to have a nice seal. So I've marked with arrows on here, and I'll show you that when I'm cutting, where we want to go down about 1/4 of an inch at least so that it has a nice meeting point. So I'll take you through cutting it now. So here's an example of one of our marked panels. This is going to be a door that opens out like this, and eventually is going to be where the nest boxes are mounted. So I've added just a little bit of a lip at the bottom from the measurement, so when it closes it'll rest on the board below it. So now I'll show you how I cut these interior pieces. Now for this cut, please do be very careful. We are going to be dropping this circular saw blade in. In order to do that, we need to lift the guard. Okay. We're going to use the same guide on the circular saw to line things up. And I like to aim for the middle. And then look where my saw blade is hitting. Okay. And then we just make the cut. Now once that first cut is made, we're going to go back and forth, but we're not going to go all the way to the edge. If we go all the way to the edge, we're going to leave crosses on the front. We don't want to have that. So we're going to finish the edges by using a handsaw or Sawzall. have our first cut. So here's the first panel cut out. It's going to be a vent. Down here is going to be the nest box door. And as you can see, it's starting to come together. So I'll take care of the other two sides. One side has nothing on it. And we'll get ready. Okay, so now I've taken all the pieces of the frame that we built and moved them over to where our base is. Now I've got to get all this mess assembled up on top of it, and then we'll start doing the assembly of the paneling. The coop's really starting to come together. Before I put the roof on and wall in the rest of the sides, I'm going to get the roosts installed across here, as that's really going to limit my movement, and I'm also going to put a power conduit box up top. We do want the coop to be able to have power if we need to run a heater like we will when we're brooding the chicks for their last 4 weeks, and also if it gets very, very hot, to be able to run a fan. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in now. Okay, now that I've got the roost in place, I've got a power conduit box, I'm ready to put the roof frame boards on. Because we took so much extra wood off the top, I do want to countersink my deck screws, which basically all that means is we're going to drill down to create a hole for them to rest in once they're secure. I just don't want the boards to split. So, get that lined up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a seven 30-seconds drill bit, and I'm going to drill the holes to start it. And I'm going to go about 2/3 of the way through the remainder of this board. Very good. Then I'm going to get my deck screws in there, just like with everything else. Okay, so now we're ready to put on our last two side panels. Good piece of advice if you're doing this by yourself, which obviously I am. Instead of struggling to try and hold up this ungainly piece of plywood, if you take some deck screws, put them in the bottom, right in that OSB board, just a little bit. Like so. You can just take your board and set it right on there. And you can get it all lined up and put it in place. To put it in place, I'm going to be using finishing nails. I like them. You could use your interior screws, just screw it all together real quick with your power drill. I like swinging a hammer on these projects, and I like the way that it just disappears into the finish. So I'm going to go ahead and get these two sides on now, and then we'll continue. we've got the roof board almost completely attached now, mounting it to the roof framing that we put up in the previous video. I'm using 1¼ inch exterior wood screws. Work perfectly with this 3/8 inch OSB board. Put the last screw in here now. Drove screws on all the edges and about every 8 inches up across this board. Now we'll get the corrugated roofing laid on top and we'll install that piece, including the foam spacers at the end to keep it nice and secure. Okay, so I've placed our corrugated roofing on top of the roof board, and since we have to use 2 sheets, it's very important that we get an overlap. So we're going to make sure we have one full ridge overlapped, and then we're going to slide it up flush to the top. Get it spaced out, and with that spacing we're going to be able to eyeball where we're going to staple down our foam pieces. So I'm going to lay these out accordingly. Hit them with the staple gun. All the way down, and then we're going to repeat the process by sliding these up to expose the other edge and getting all the foam tacked in place. Then we'll go ahead and screw it down. Okay, so we've got our galvanized roofing installed and our foam pieces here at the end. I've already tacked down 3 of the sides with our special roofing screws. What's nice about these screws is that they come with a rubber grommet that flattens out and keeps the hole you puncture in the roof watertight for when rain rolls over it. For this application, I'm just going to be attaching the 3 sides, going about every 6 inches all the way up and down, and the middle should be watertight because of our strong overlap. So now that we have the roof tacked down, it's time to shore up these gaps. You can see I've already placed some chicken wire along the bottom, or excuse me, hardware cloth. Now time to attach it to the roof. Well, now that we've got our roof on and our hardware cloth in place, we're ready to put up our final side panel. Alright, so I finished installing the 2.5 inch hinges on all of our doors here, and we've also installed the hardware to keep them latched and closed. So here we have an eye hook holding our vent door. This will eventually be a nesting box. Right now it's just going to stay closed while the chicks get old enough to even lay eggs, and then once they get to about the stage that they're ready to lay, we're going to open this, we're going to mount a box that comes in here, and then this will be the lid for that box. We're using a barrel lock for that, and a barrel lock for our service door. The service door is on this side of the coop. It opens up nice and wide so we can get in and clean it and do any maintenance. Now I'll take you around the front for our final installation, which will be the chicken door, and show you how we're going to be able to prop that open so that they can go in and out during the day. Alright, so this is our chicken door. Nothing fancy, nice and simple. We have our 2.5 inch hinges and an eye hook down here at the bottom. The eye hook is latched in here, and during the day when we want to let the hens out, we just open up the door and latch it to this eye hook installed at the top. Shut it down in the evening. Well everyone, it's been a really fun project, but we're finally at an end. I hope you've enjoyed following along while we work on the chicken coop, and you've got some great ideas for building one for your own backyard chickens. Please subscribe for my future content, including building a run attached to this coop, and we'll be showing how to make the nesting boxes once the hens are mature. Thank you very much if you find the time to leave me a like or take the time to subscribe. And as always, I'll leave links to our Amazon affiliate page for some of the supplies we use to build the coop in the description below. Please leave any comments or concerns. I love hearing from you guys, and we'll see you next time. It's It's the baby bird's first morning out in the sun, so let's see how they do. There they are.